Hey there and welcome back to another Star Wars video. And for those of you that keep up a lot with Star Wars and stay on top of the latest news and trailers, you'll know that in the last day or so, we saw the long-awaited release of the first teaser trailer for the upcoming Disney Plus series, Kenobi. And damn, the hype really is real with this, honestly. Coming into this trailer, I wasn't all that impressed or excited with the concept. Yeah, it was cool to know we'd get to see Ewan McGregor again in all his glory, but at the same time, I had trouble actually caring about the story itself, or at least the story pitch. Because ultimately, it felt like it was going to just be an Obi-Wan story set in the desert of Tatooine, where he's sad and spies on Luke with binoculars. Not exactly a riveting concept in my view. I mean, we know what happens to him in the end. Yeah, there's the 19-year gap to fill, but most of it needs to take place on Tatooine, in the desert, because it would be too risky for him to leave and risk attention. And also, we won't even likely get any interaction between Obi-Wan and Vader, because the implication in A New Hope is that they haven't seen each other since Mustafar. So it's not like we even have any sort of realistic hope for that sort of fan service, unless they change up the actual timeline a little bit. But then we got to the trailer, and I proved myself to be a fickle person, and immediately changed my mind to become extremely hyped. Like seriously, it made my head spin how fast I changed my opinions on everything and anything to do with this series. And so, let's break down the trailer scene by scene and see what we can glean from it. So we start off the trailer seeing Obi-Wan riding through the deserts of Tatooine and heading into a town. Mos Espa, I'm guessing this is. Anyway, we then get to see a little bit of a look at what his life is like as he narrates how the Jedi lost the Clone Wars and tells somebody to stay hidden. So, a few things here. I liked that they show that he actually needs to get a job to survive. At least, I think he's working a job in that scene in the town. Is he cutting meat? Man, that really is a big come down, isn't it? A member of a high council for a grand order of religious wizard knights to chopping meat on a gangster-run slave planet in the Outer Rim. Damn. And I'm guessing the narration is going to be one of those recordings that he might send out into the galaxy, telling other Jedi to keep hiding, and that there's no point in making themselves known just yet. And this brings us to the scene with little Luke. And on one hand, the visual of a middle-aged man watching a young boy at a distance with binoculars is quite troubling. But it's also quite wholesome that he does check on him, and sad that he isn't really part of his life. This is basically his nephew/grandson type of thing, and he just has to sit in the hills, hiding. And I like that young Luke looked so much like young Anakin with the pod racing goggles and even the little tunic he wears. Real cute. And then, Jewel of the Fates hits. Damn. That really just gives you those nostalgic goosebumps. And then we get a look at a live action version of the Grand Inquisitor, who's another Jedi who ended up joining Sidious for those who are unaware. He's appeared in a bunch of animated shows for Star Wars, but I think this is going to be his first live action appearance so far. Anyway, his voice is great. Nice and smarmy. The kind of voice that you know belongs to a pretentious dickhead type character. And it's a shame that he canonically will survive this series, because a dude like this really just has it coming. I would have loved to see Obi-Wan slice and dice this fool. Anyway, we get some more voiceover by the Grand Inquisitor talking about how it's not the Jedi's fault that they are the way they are, they simply can't help but to be compassionate wherever they go. And first of all, I really loved these lines, really top-notch propaganda there. And I really like how the Empire is really getting fleshed out via Disney Plus these days. First with Moff Gideon and the Mando storylines, but now through this as well. And I really like how they're painting these Empire characters. It really harkens back to A New Hope with Grand Moff Tarkin. That dude was just an awful sort of man, but he had this quality about him that made you understand why he was so feared and why people followed him. And I think that Disney is actually doing a pretty good job of replicating that feel with their villainous characters these days. And this is where the plot really starts to pick up. Now obviously, the trailer is not showing everything in chronological order. We have shots of Inquisitors on Tatooine itself, and then on a city planet, and then on their little base at the Fortress Inquisitorius. So probably the Fortress shots and the Obi-Wan alone on Tatooine living his life shots are set first chronologically. We have Obi-Wan just living his day-to-day, and then the Inquisitors trying to figure out where the hell he might be. And then they either get tipped off that he might be on Tatooine, or maybe Vader even tells them to check there, just in case. And this is where we're going to get those scenes with the third sister on Tatooine, where we see her having hanged a dude. At least that seems to be what's just happened. I'm guessing she did that with the Force to make the villagers piss their pants so they'll give up Kenobi. And maybe even Owen considering giving up his location to try and protect Luke? Don't know. Side note though, I am happy to see that they keep bringing back the old cast into this. They really are just minor characters in the prequels, but it adds so much to the world when you see them return like that. And then this is probably where we see them threatening the townsfolk, and realistically, Obi-Wan booking it out of there on the first starship available, just to ensure that the Inquisitors leave the planet and don't sense Luke's presence. And I'm guessing they're going to hunt him across 1 or 2 planets, culminating in him having a confrontation with them. And I know the Grand Inquisitor survives, but I'm guessing the third sister is going to bite the dust. I'm not quite familiar with her, and I feel like you need to have Obi-Wan actually defeat somebody in order to make him look like a credible threat still. If he only escapes by the skin of his teeth and doesn't even defeat one of them, well, it kind of kills his credibility and his mystique. And then they'll either have to assume that Obi-Wan's dead, maybe they think they both died in some explosion or something like that, or that he's fled and that they won't be able to find him again. Because, after all, why would they assume he would ever return to Tatooine once he leaves that place? In their mind, surely he would have nothing there worth returning for, and his cover was blown. So therefore after this, he should be able to live in relative peace on Tatooine until the 4th movie starts, because nobody would be looking there anymore. And it also looks like he's not going to be using his lightsaber all that often. More likely just a blaster, either because he's trying to hide his identity really well, or perhaps he has some PTSD relating to not wanting to use his lightsaber anymore after what he was forced to do to Anakin on Mustafar. I know he was in the right, but it would still mess with his mind to do that to his brother/son figure. Still, it is a kind of sad irony that he needs to use a blaster after all his talk of their lack of grace and elegance. And honestly, I don't actually expect him to fight with a lightsaber until the very final act of the series. And I mean, the final shot of the trailer shows him looking down intently at something. Maybe his lightsaber. Maybe he's considering using it again. Don't know. But anyway though, that's a pretty good trailer all things considered, and has really got me hyped up for its release at the end of May. That being said though, there are a couple of things I do want to see in the next trailer if they have one. First, I want to see Darth Vader. We already know he's going to be there, so I want to at least get a glimpse. Not just breathing. I want to see the suit, or at least his burnt ass face. And honestly, I wouldn't mind some Liam Neeson, Qui-Gon Jinn Force Ghost shenanigans. It would just be nice to have those two characters interact again in a tangible way after his discussion with Yoda about Qui-Gon's existence at the end of Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about the trailer. And I would like to note that these are just my opinions. And now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the trailer? Has it got you hyped? Maybe not so much? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and let me know.